So weirdly, in an episode where it features some people struggling to cope with modern day life and how things are really different to the time they just came from, this episode got me thinking how quickly and how far we've come in just about 20 years. It's quite a weird episode to watch back. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek, you are watching Kevin the Geek, and it is time for another Torchwood review on Torchwood Tuesdays. Remember, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the video and turn on notifications. Don't forget to check out all of my other Doctor Who and Torchwood related content, amongst other all manner of geeky things. So, Out of Time is an episode that is always remembered fondly by many fans of Torchwood. I think the big reason for this is because it focuses on the human aspect of things. And really, the best episodes of Torchwood are not the ones that deal with an alien threat or an alien incursion, but they deal with the human ramifications of the interactions with an alien artifact or an alien species. And I would say, other than trying to question how the hell Torchwood knew that this plane was coming here and it warranted their investigation before it even landed, taking that bit aside, I would say this was pretty much a perfect episode. So where do you even start with this? So I think what makes this episode work is because you have three different characters and you have each of them coming from 50 years previous. They're having to learn to live and cope in this new world that they've come from. Rationing and attitudes are very different, like expectations on women and expectations regarding sex, for example. These are just a couple of different things that they're going to have to get used to. And they do a fantastic job in showing how each of the different three cope with this dramatic sudden shift that they're dealing with. And I want to focus in on that. So let's start with John, the most tragic of the three. Now, John is, of course, the oldest of the group, and he would be, I think he's somewhere between about mid-40s to late 50s. I think that's the rough age in what they're showing him for. And he is a family man. He has got his wife, he's got his child, he's got a thriving business, a corner shop, and he loses all that in an instant. And he finds out his wife is, of course, has died, and he spends a bit of time trying to track down his son. Now, I always wonder whether Jack knew about his son and his Alzheimer's and did something to try to prevent him from finding out. Because to go from a moment where you have a young son who was seemingly, from the dialogue, in the ballpark, maybe somewhere between, I'd say, 5 and 10, there or thereabouts, to find out your son has basically gone from that sort of age to being 90 years old, has got Alzheimer's, a condition that, of course, at that time wouldn't really have made any sense. It wasn't really a thing. And seeing this boy being a crippled old man who doesn't know who he is, can't even recognise his own father. That is tough to deal with. And I think on this rewatch, I kind of understood and appreciated it a little bit more than I have done in the past. And that is because I lost my nan last year, and she had dementia for rough ballpark about 8 years or so from when she was officially diagnosed. And unfortunately, I had to see her slowly deteriorate. And COVID didn't help, being shut inside the care home. No, not seeing any of the family. That just, I think, kind of hastened it. And you got to that point by the end that she was basically Alan in that scene. She was a shell. She didn't recognise who I was. She'd always had this kind of smile on her face every time I entered a room, and I always, think, she did know it was someone she loved and trusted, even if she couldn't quite think, how she knew me or what my name was, but she always knew the face. Yeah, so that hit me a lot harder, I think, this time around. And John tried to cope in the little ways that he could. Anything that he found a sense of familiarity. So, like cooking the evening meal for him and Emma, going with a simple potatoes and liver. That's what he knew. That's what he found comforting. And, trying to do some new modern food, he just would have felt alien to him. And similarly, his attitude towards Emma, okay, this is a girl that he didn't know. They were both chartered passengers on the plane, but he felt a need to be a father to her. Because in a way, he was a father, and he had just lost his son in the blink of an eye. And again, that is what he needed to hold on to. And so ultimately, when Emma said, don't talk to me like that, you're not my father, that is what set him off on the spiral of depression, leading to him committing suicide. And it was incredibly emotional, and I cry every time at that scene. It is, I mean, I'm lost for words with that thing. It's just so beautifully written, beautifully acted, and the music, just the accompaniment across the whole episode is just perfect and gets you in the feels. Now, Emma. So she is pretty much the complete opposite to John. And for her, being 18, she has a sense of naivety towards her. And again, she finds it difficult to adjust, but she is very much more open to experiencing these new things. She is heartbroken at the loss, basically, of her family. But at the same time, I think maybe because she didn't have a child, that for her made it easier to kind of move on and get a job and move to London. And it was going to take her a little bit of time to find her feet and find her way around, because there's going to be a lot of things that she'll be learning, as evidenced in the scene when Gwen takes her, quite stupidly in my opinion, but takes her to a nightclub and would have ended up in a situation where that guy would have forced himself upon her. So, like I said, a lot to learn for her, but being as young as she is, she's open to experiencing these new things. And obviously, we never see her again, but I do think, or at least I like to think, that she probably did make a successful career for herself, did manage to adjust, and, went on to do great things and make friends and have family. And Diane. Diane. See, on one hand, I completely get what they were doing with her. But on the other hand, was it just to give Owen somebody for the season finale? I'm still in two minds with them two. I liked her as a character. I liked her sense of adventure, and being a female pilot from the 1950s, it's very much that she would have been quite a progressive woman at the time. She was very much a woman to take control of her own life, not let men stand in the way. And it did, give a really interesting little scene with regards to the whole pulling out of the chair thing.
What?
I'm waiting for you to pull out my chair.
Let me get this straight. You expect equality and chivalry?
I don't see why they should be mutually exclusive.
Well, if it makes you happy.
And I find that really interesting as a debate. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you disagree with that? Do drop your comments down below. For me, it is very much that age-old question. I think, can you be truly equal, yet without giving up some of those things? Like, I see a lot of women, for example, saying, like, if you go on a first date, as an example, it has always been the accepted norm for men to pay on the first date. And typically that will go back to those days when, yes, men were the breadwinners and they earned more money than women. And so the man was expected to pay because he had more money. In modern day society, that's not really a thing. I do genuinely believe that there is equality in pay. The argument will be that in certain job types, you may get more money, but then I would again argue that some of the statistics some people throw out could be related to more tailored industries. Like, for example, if you talk about building sites, statistically, more of the working force on a building site are more likely to be men. That is just a stereotypical fact. That's not to say that a woman working on a building site isn't going to do any less of a job or should earn any less money. But statistically, that's where you've always got to be careful with that whole debate. And I'm not going to get into it here, but I do feel that we are getting better at equality, but there is still a ways to go. And that's just not in gender equality, that is in racial equality and other things like that. So I did find Dan a very interesting character. Apologies for that little side ramble there for a second. But the relationship with Owen is what I'm still unsure of. It was done really, really well. It was the perfect pairing because he is very much, and has always been, shown to be this primal man, for lack of a better term. He is the guy who will go out and shag anyone and do anything like that. And they try and give him a bit of a heart and a soul. I don't agree with the whole him running after her and saying stop, because they came at it from a period of love. They used it to try and make him go, it's because we don't know how the rift works and everything. But I still think he did it more from a love perspective, more so than a scientific and rift related reason. So yeah, it's a hard one because I didn't buy her reason for wanting to leave and saying it's the same conditions, I'm going to get away. I do get it on one hand and I don't. It's a hard one because she's got such a sense of adventure that it's very much hard to get that out of your system. And if you've got someone saying that you can't do it for whatever reason, in her case, that she didn't have a pilot's license, which, okay, sorry, let me just bring up this point for a second. If they're able to give them new identities, give them passports and things like that, why couldn't they have managed to get her a pilot's license? It's not like to say that they don't think she knows what she's doing. Clearly, she is a very capable pilot. Yes, she may have to learn newer aircraft because they may operate slightly differently, but surely there must have been a way to get her a license. Sorry, that's just a little bit aside, but that has always bugged me. Yeah, I think she had a great sense of adventure, and it does kind of explain why she'd want to go off, but as we see in an episode in the second season, it can be not just going to a different time period, you can be going completely elsewhere, and if she did go through the rifts, I would say she's probably dead, which would leave Emma as the last woman standing. But a great episode because it focuses on humanity, not an alien incursion or artifact. But what are your thoughts of Out of Time? Please drop your comments down below, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Lots of content on the channel. Until next time, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.